You believe in the devil, Father. I'm Daredevil. You believe in the devil, Father. I don't get to choose who I am. My delusion was thinking God had anything to do with it. I'm Daredevil. Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now.
Hello and welcome to the Daredevil cast. This week we're hiding out in the hollowed out shell of Hell's Kitchen because Mayor Fisk has enacted martial law, Nick had to claw his way out of some dodgy dungeon just to make it in for his shift, and we can't even serve food because the Fisks are eating it all in front of some bloody painting. I'm your co-host, Eammon Jacobs, and as I just mentioned, we've finally got Nick back after his week at Shea Fisk. How are you doing, mate?
I'm alright, mate. I was fortunate enough to come across a guy called Anthony Petruccio who was guarding my cell, and I had a word with him and then just bent his arm the wrong way, and now I'm free. So that's job's a good one.
Job's a good one. Good to have you back.
Cheers, mate. Have you missed me?
I've
You had
missed
to
you.
listen to some twonk for fucking 50 minutes I heard last week, and he was all, Nick's going to get really annoyed about this. No, I'm not. I'm going to rise above it. Because that's what vigilantes do.
Brilliant. Yes, we had Tom on last week. Spoiler alert, he'll probably be on again at some point because this podcast will continue for a little bit longer. Just because Daredevil Born Again has come to an end does not mean that we're done with this podcast. We've been threatening for a little while to watch Ben Affleck's Daredevil, and that will be happening with several bottles of O'Melvinese.
So what you're saying is the Heather of the podcast will return.
Wow.
I'm joking. I know you're listening, Tom. Balls to you. No, I'm joking. Go on. Go on.
Shots fired. Good
Yeah.
God. His head's gone. His head's gone worse
His head's
than Gallo. His head's gone worse than Gallo. Yes, this
Hollow,
is...
more like. Are we right?
Whee.
Sorry.
This is the final episode of our Daredevil Born Again coverage, though. The show has finally come to a close. We're on episode 9, which feels a bit mental to say, really, because it feels like 2 seconds ago since we were like, hey, what's it going to be about?
Mm-hmm. Now we know what it's all about. So this will make this episode really easy.
Yeah, because we have some of the answers, at least.
Yeah. Daredevil Born Again season 1, completed it, mate.
Completed
Done all
it,
the side
mate.
quests. Yeah.
So let's give a quick rundown of the episode. We finally understand why Bullseye took a shot at Foggy, partly because Vanessa Fisk hired him to do so because she was trying to protect her interests, which we later find out is basically that the Fisks were running Red Hook as a free port, which would let them money launder, essentially, legally, so that's good. And Foggy sort of uncovered it all and was going to blow the lid on that shit. Aside from that, we also get, a little reunion, a little team up. Matt and Frank take down a proverbial shit ton of corrupt cops who are obviously using Frank's logo on their bulletproof vests, which doesn't go down very well.
He was not a happy chappy.
He was not a happy chappy, and when is he, to be fair? And then finally we get the big bombastic moment of the season, which is effectively Fisk turns New York into a police state, brings about his totalitarian regime, puts everybody in martial law, and Daredevil's like, shit, better start an army then.
Yeah, I know what I'll do. I'll get Josie.
And Cherry.
And Cherry. I mean, Cherry's reasonable. Ex-cop Cherry. What's she going to do? She's like, look, I'll just get you all smashed. Like, I'm just, drinks from me. Even when he walked out at the end, she was just like, what the fuck have I signed myself up for here?
The fuck am I here for?
Yeah. Like,
you're barred, mate. You ruined my bar. Get out. Get out of my pub.
Yeah, basically. Like, yeah, just interesting, mate. A very interesting ending because, as we've said, we completed this fucking weeks ago. And we had a back and forth quite a bit, as did the internet. Literally, like, following today's release, of as soon as you heard we need an army, you're like, oh shit. Are they going to get who we think they're going to get? No, they got Josie.
Well, because originally our reaction was that just a stand-in scene? And we were like, oh, is this going to be... Are they going to swap in that scene for some gratuitous cameos that we would obviously lose our shit over?
Which would be wild.
Which would be wild. And
an impressive feat for Marvel if they did it.
Definitely. We were thinking Jessica Jones. We were thinking Luke Cage. We almost even flirted with the idea of Danny Rand.
We did.
But alas... that did not happen.
It did not happen. But nevertheless, still some good bits. It was as far as finales go, mate. Pretty bloody good finale.
I was pretty happy with it. I won't lie.
Yes.
However, we'll get onto this later on. But a lot of the internet seemingly wasn't as happy with it, which is fine. People have different opinions about things. Some people have been entirely normal and not at all problematic about it, which again, the internet as a whole. But yeah, personally, top level thoughts for me, mate. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Did it have its occasional dodgy parts? Yes, but I think that's the season as a whole.
Yes, I think it basically encapsulated what this has been this entire run, which it was like. We've said time and again where there's been these amazing sort of like comparative beats between Fisk and Matt, where you saw Fisk doing something and Matt doing something, and you had plenty of that here because it was like they're reaching a midpoint of one of them has lost, and for a change because this is not the usual route of Daredevil. Like Netflix's Daredevil, like he won every season. He came out on top. Finally crouching on a building at one point, whereas this, like I say, he's had to resort to calling Josie for a favor. Like he's fucked. Like he is. This is the Empire Strikes Back of Daredevil, where it's like shit. We need to backtrack. We need to regroup. We need to figure out what's going on. And yeah, it had its highs and lows, man. And like you say, that's exactly what this show has done. But the way it's ended has me very intrigued as to where it can go next. Particularly because obviously, they've not been able to hide, on location like photos and stuff. And like I sent Eammon today, footage of Daredevil like being thrown out of Fogwell's gym with someone. Go and look for it online if you want to find it, but I'm not telling you on here. So yeah, just interesting, man. But shall we get into the heaven and hell section of the final episode of Daredevil? Not the final episode, like the last one of this one. We see another one next year, so that's good. But yeah,
it's a bit good that, isn't it? That we know we're getting season 2. We're not like, oh shit, are we actually gonna see a resolution of this
next year as well?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's going to be a similar sort of time. If the rest of filming goes okay and post production is relatively straightforward, then I would estimate like around March again. Hopefully that'd be nice. Maybe like April, May, depending on schedules and whatever else comes out. But yeah, in terms of heaven and hell,
what I was hoping for massively. I was like, and I think it's because Slow Horses has ruined it for me for any show I watch. Where folks, if you don't watch Slow Horses, well, that's the next podcast me and Amy are going to do. We're going to call it Out the Stable, and it's basically about basically every final episode of that show and every season. They just show the trailer for the next season. That's like the following year. And you're like, and like when this finished, I was like, oh, it would be really nice to see a little bit of a teaser.
Yeah.
But alas,
we do get a little post credits, which
we do. Oh, do we? More on that later, boys.
Which I'm sure we'll get onto that. Yeah. Let's. I feel like heaven is the way to go at the minute.
Of course.
I think I'll do my heaven, you do your heaven. We'll do it this way, just because I feel like there's more positives this episode, I feel, than negatives. But let's go.
Definitely.
I mean, first off for me is absolutely the apartment fight. I mean, it was Daredevil at his best. It was Frank Castle at his best. You had Billy Club action, which sounds dirtier when I say it like that. You had Frank being an absolute savage, and what I liked is that we get the hatchet payoff. When Frank turns up in episode 4 or 5, He's got the hatchet in his hand. And although we don't hear Matt say put the hatchet down like he did in the trailer, you finally see him use it against a cop, and you see him use it.
He puts it down.
He puts it down in somebody's skull. And it is just blood-soaked. And I think, this episode as a whole is pretty gory. And again, we will get onto that. But I really appreciated them just, letting loose for a little bit of just, fuck it, let's do a big-ass fight scene with a lot of people involved and just fuck a lot of people up. And that again leads me into my next point of Frank confronting the cops who are using his symbol and being like, you copycats, you don't know me, you don't know my pain, you do not speak for me.
You don't. He says you don't know my pain, you don't know my hurt, and I was just like, oh fucking hell, man! Like we've been through it, we know what he's on about, and it's we've said from the beginning he's a walking bruise, this man, and when he sat there, I think it's hilarious that can we go a Daredevil season without seeing John Bernthal tied to a chair getting the shit rocked out of him? He's always got to be spitting blood on the floor at one point because four or at least 5 people are punching him repeatedly in the face. Yeah, man, just wild.
Mental. But thematically, I appreciate that Marvel aren't shying away from this at all.
They are not shying this week. Holy hell, they are not shining this week. Jesus Christ.
I think if you want to look into the political allegories, they're all out there, but I think it's quite important that, Frank directly addresses the idea of cops using his symbol to justify, brutality, essentially, and saying, no, you don't stand for me. I don't believe in what you're doing. Obviously, Bernthal says it in a bit more of a grizzled, gruff, fuck-off way than I just presented it, but I loved that scene. And it's, again, Frank always seems to be on the back foot, even though he's, just like a seasoned fighter and, walking bruise that dishes out bruises. These scenes where he's on the back foot are when he does his best work sometimes.
Absolutely.
And that shot as well, where it's from the back, he's sat down and you can see them all lined in front of him.
You just see skulls. You just see skulls out of focus. You're just and it's the classic. It's there are certain actors, right, that have a particular cadence, but a gait as well. Where Timothy Olyphant, for example, has the best walk for a Western ever, right? You ever watch Timothy Olyphant walk? He walks like a cowboy all the time.
Yeah.
When John Bernthal sits and almost has that internal monologue, internal conversation with himself, his head sort of bobs in such a way where he's just you can see him getting wound up. You're essentially watching a volcano slowly start to build, and there are occasions where you're I'm kind of glad he's cuffed, if I'm totally honest, lads. This is probably doing us favours. But yeah, going back to your point about his whole speech is brilliant, but it's like you say, because I knew of this, but I didn't know it as well as I'd like to, where this is happening in the comics where Punisher has gone off to police, and there's a quote where he says, I'll say this once, we're not the same. You took an oath to uphold the law. I gave all that up a long time ago. You don't know what I do. You boys need a role model. His name's Captain America. We'd be happy to have you. Obviously, he's not going to say that. It'd be fucking sick if he did, but he didn't. But what's interesting, I think, is about this is, do you think there would have been space? I've said on this time and time again, and we'll get to it in a bit about it, but the consistent debate between these two of Daredevil's not what Frank is not what Daredevil is. However, do you think there would have been space for him to sort of acknowledge going, you boys need a role model, his name is Daredevil?
Oh. I think,
do you know what I mean?
Think if Powell hadn't have had such a sort of dynamic with Matt, I think you could have absolutely got away with that. But because there's a sort of an animosity already there aimed at Daredevil, I don't think you could have done that. If the whole Powell, like, not subplot, but that sort of character dynamic with Matt hadn't happened, absolutely, that could have been great. Because instantly Powell's going to be like, fuck no, don't care.
Yeah. yeah. Next.
But that is such a good point. That would be a great way of weaving it in.
But yeah, you're right. Definitely. Just John Bernthal, basically.
Just John Bernthal.
Yeah, Heaven Section, John Bernthal.
Put that on a t-shirt, just John Bernthal.
Yeah. Even like, I know you're talking about, obviously, the apartment fight. Like, I think what's brilliant about how that's delivered is obviously the blackout happens and you're like, right, who's done this? And you like it's the obvious guess, but it's the fact that he gets home and as soon as he sits down he just starts talking to him, and obviously he's not even looked because why would he? But like, even though he, as Tom rightfully points out, he loves to look out a window but he never looks around the room. But like have you got have you got anything in here to make a cup of coffee? And he's like, no, this isn't a fallout shelter, Frank. Like, straight away, they're just into it. Like Matt's like, appreciate you fucking helping, but fuck me, just shut up, man. And then it's, and then Frank's, I think he says, where he's like, can you, don't know if you know this, but we've got 10 armed guys coming up from the north side or something. He's like, yeah, I've already clocked them. He's just like, these are the conversations that fans want to hear. Besides the human thing, but it's like, right, let's switch on. It's like game time now. Like, this is how we operate. We will collide consistently through this fight, but like they are Dwight and Jim of the MCU. Like they hate each other, but they work really well together.
They do, and I know we've talked a lot about their dynamic, especially in season 2, and the ongoing debate of Daredevil is one bad day away from being Frank, etc., etc. But I loved seeing those, the two very different approaches to vigilantism collide in one room, and seeing obviously Frank like just mow his way through these people, and Daredevil just being like, you're a fucking liability every single time. Like, what are we even doing? You can almost see the regret and reluctance on Daredevil's face to be like, I don't want to work with this guy. And that's what makes their dynamic so interesting, is because neither of them, although they respect each other to a degree, neither of them actually want to be there.
They've got the right aim. It's just, one of them's just a little bit more violent.
A little bit?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
The guy had a hatchet in his face.
I know.
And the same again, yes. When Punisher fights all the cops 1-on-1, 1v20, he's just wailing on these people. And I was just like, oh my God, Frank.
I did think as well, it was interesting where it was like, yeah, you have to shoehorn this in because he'd be dead by now. Where one of them goes, just use the rubber bullets. You're like, yeah, because if it was real, that man would be dead.
That would have been shot a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's like one point where he's like sandwiched between two riot shields. I'm like, no, he'd be dead by now. Like, and I'm not like trying to shit on it, but I'm like, of course, like you've got to put something in, because like I think that's always the funny thing about Punisher as well, isn't it? Because like he's not a superhero. He's just a man.
A guy.
So it's like we have to normalize these situations to such a point, but then also like they've got to drop some breadcrumb in to go, he's going to be all right by the end of this. Somehow he'll be all right.
Yeah. I just think, I think that's why he gets fucked up a lot, though, is because they have to do, like you say, point out that he is just a man. And although, Matt does get his shit rocked from time to time, he's more often than not strapped to a chair and have the snot beaten out of him. So, yeah. But this isn't the Punisher podcast, though. This is the Daredevil cast. But just John Bernthal. And finally, mate. Well, not finally, actually. Next up, penultimately, my head's gone.
My head's gone. Why's your head gone?
My head's gone. Commissioner Gallows' head's gone.
You see,
my God. Right. I'm putting this in my heaven section purely for the fact that this is A, the goriest moment in the MCU thus far.
Oh, yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
And B, that was a practical effect and that looked sick. Like, that was not sick. That can't have been CGI. And if it was, fair fucks to them because it looked insane.
I don't know if I must not have sent it to you, but someone one of the special effects guys basically put the prosthetic up online today of his head.
Nice.
So they literally like...
Then even more so, because that was horror levels of gore and technicality, and I just really appreciated that they managed to persuade Disney to let them do it, because it is obscenely gory. Like, I'm here for it. You know, I am obviously talking about the scene where Fisk kidnaps Commissioner Gallo as he's sort of, you know, overthrowing New York, and literally crushes his head. You know, the top of his skull caves in on itself. His jaw, like, comes off and goes to the side, and it's just, like, viscera and brain and eyeball. I was like, damn, giving Negan a run for his money.
Yeah, like, so he's dead then.
Not coming back for season 2, are you, mate?
No.
R.I.P. Gallo.
Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, R.I.P. Gallo. Yeah, man, I was torn about this. So I totally back what you're saying. I like you're right. It's a very interesting and sort of tone setter for the MCU going forward, right? Because like you know, I was talking to Amy about this early before the podcast, but I went to see Sinners last night, and the whole time I was like, just fucking give Ryan Coogler a blade, for fuck's sake, let's stop fanning around. And then it's like, to think of that as a prospect, right, is, you know, to sort of compare it, right, I personally feel there's now like a spectrum of gore in the MCU. We've already actually seen it in Deadpool and Wolverine. We've seen quite a lot of it, but not to this degree. So it's like, I feel like this is the midpoint between Deadpool. It goes Deadpool, Wolverine, the final episode of season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, and the Blade film. Like, those are the three sort of, that's the gauge. So like, I think it's a very interesting sort of stepping off point from where the MCU and Disney, like you said, Disney are willing to go with it. Like, this is the same slot that we've watched the Skeleton Crew on. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is like, it's wild to think. And yeah, like, whilst that for me excites me and makes me go, all right, okay, how do you manipulate it? Where do you push it? Where do you pull it going forward in the MCU? But there was just something about it. I don't know what it is that I didn't like. And I think it was because, like, I know it sounds really stupid and it might be really minor. None of the policemen gave a fuck. Like, if I saw a guy crush someone's head with their bare hands, I'd be like, that's mental, what I've just watched.
Is that what you'd say out loud? That's mental, that.
Like, one of them just being like, I was only doing overtime this week. What's happening? Why have we done this shift? Like, nobody threw up. I wanted one person to at least be like,
because even though they are like corrupt police officers, you've got to think that at some degree they're like, that is like a bit fucked, mate.
It's like, he's turned his head to sand. It was just like, it just went apart. And I was like, no one's done anything. This is really weird. And like, I know you talk about, you love in first season of the Netflix run of like him in the car door. And I think it works because you don't see it.
Yes, very true. Very, very true.
And I think they sort of obviously, you know, and the showrunners said previous, like literally a couple of days before this episode aired, they're like, we've gone for something totally gnarly. This is the worst this is the most gruesome, gory thing that Daredevil's ever had in the MCU. And it's like, right, that's cool. But I don't know, how it was executed, I just think was a bit strange. That was I was like, I don't know, that was just me. But like, still very impressive, and I'm very interested to see where else we see this level of like violence in the MCU, because we've talked about it in the past. Like, how do you're never going to see the Punisher back to back with Captain America, and like, no. Frank's hatcheting people, and Sam Wilson's like, right, I can throw stuff out my wings, but like not like what you're doing, because you're a bit of a bad one, aren't you?
That's sort of murder.
Yeah, that's sort of murder. But again, I just think it's interesting that like, right, now you've introduced this thing into this universe that we know the rules of. How do you keep this going? Where else is it going to turn up?
I think for me, it's like maybe the reason that I find it like the goriest moment compared to something like Deadpool and Wolverine is because Deadpool and Wolverine almost treated gore kind of cartoonishly. Like, it was so over the top at times. It was like Tarantino-esque even. So then it kind of took away the impact because and again, maybe it's just the rules of that property is that we expect Deadpool to be gory, chopping limbs off, stabbing people, whatever. So that it's just like, oh well, that's Deadpool, of course. And although we expect the same from Punisher, we don't expect that
or Daredevil,
that extremism from Daredevil as much.
Do you really think that?
To a degree, yeah. Because like, if you think about the gore in Daredevil, yeah, it's gnarly as hell, it's gruesome, but you never go away like horror level. Personally, I never compared it to.
Mate,
because this is
Bowling Man's chin on a pike.
Yeah, it's gross, it's horrendous. I love it, but this to me is like the most extreme version of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that
it was Game of Thrones on it, basically.
Definitely. And the fact that they dropped it in the finale because they wanted to make an impact, that's how I want them to use extreme violence. I don't want it to be every episode to be like, oh, such and such gangster has just had, his hand lopped off and shoved down his throat. Meh. It needs to be used sparingly to actually, give you that audience reaction of what the fuck have they just done?
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But with Blade, I hope they, because Blade does need to be violent and it does need to be gory. But again, I want them to use the extremer moments sparingly enough to make you go, holy shit.
But then it's like, to your point, you brought up an interesting point there, whereas like with Blade, you are actually getting an action horror film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're gonna get, it's a vampire film, you're gonna get pretty gory stuff in it.
Well, you would hope so. I just think you would hope
so.
Yeah.
But again, I just think it's a really interesting decision that I'm just like, I wouldn't say I'm excited, and I'm not like you've ruined it. I'm just very intrigued to see where it goes, because it's like, I know they've said, and it'd be bonkers if they did, but just imagine, like Kevin Feige said that like the cast list for Doomsday isn't finished. Now, if John Bernthal's name or Charlie Cox's name turns up in it, like, what is John gonna? Is Frank gonna get like fucking laser pistols instead of? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of thing where it's like, right, what do you do? How do you manipulate this now that you've just crushed a man's head? Like, what? Where are you going from here?
Yeah, and obviously we're talking the broader sense, not like in the we're not saying that Frank is gonna be crushing people's heads. But I completely agree, mate, because it then makes things stick out like a sore thumb if you don't fit that character to that model. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting. But yeah, my final point in my heaven section kind of feeds into this a little bit in the excitement of the future, is the atmosphere building around New York and around the martial law aspect of it all, of Fisk turning this into a literal like police state. What that means for the future, how that's going to change the way Daredevil approaches vigilantism in season 2. And obviously, yeah, the army building aspect is, we can debate that and theorize for hours. But just the concept of like New York getting locked down like that, I find so fascinating, especially within the MCU. Like, are we going to see that those ramifications in stuff like Spider-Man 4? Are we going to see that referenced maybe in Thunderbolts? Because Thunderbolts is going to take place partly in New York. We know that for definite. Granted, the production times, maybe it took place before Born Again. I don't know, whatever. But just the concept of Fisk running it like a fascist, which, let's face it, that's what it is just fascinating. Like, he has become like one of the scariest villains by doing some pretty real world stuff.
As he should be,
and as he should be.
I think that's the thing, is like, Eammon gave me props earlier, being like, look at you pretending you don't know about comics and stuff. Like, the more I've read, the more I've read the more I have read of Daredevil over the past like fucking like 2 years and stuff, it is that thing of like, you know, there's a point where like Fisk is part of the fucking not Hellfire Gala. What is he? He becomes the White King, doesn't he?
Is that the Hellfire Club?
Is it? Sorry, Hellfire Club. My apologies. Like, and it's just like, God, you're fucking everywhere. Like, you are, you know, like Tom. I think Tom put it brilliantly last week about talking like the rot of like, he's just infecting, and it's like, you know, I know they've interviewed Vincent D'Onofrio recently, and he said like, where do you want to be? He said something along the lines of like, there could never be a Kingpin film because there's tied up in rights and stuff, and it's like, right, okay, fair, but like, where else could you go? Because you're so good. Like he has now become like, I think personally he's always been scarier than like Thanos.
Absolutely.
But I think it's because, you know, it's what you always say is that like, it's the real world elements of Daredevil's corner of the world that makes it the more impactful, and the stakes are a lot sort of more intense and mean a lot more because these are real people. So like you say, when you're seeing already retaliation from the martial law being implemented and fucking riots kicking off and stuff, you're like, you know, what's going to happen next season if, say, a protester, you know, gets thrown in a fucking like questioning, and then Fisk walks in the room, you're like, oh my God, what's he going to do? Like, that's the kind of gravitas he has, and he always has. But yeah, you're right, he's the scariest thing. He's just scary.
He's just really
he's not
scary.
a nice man.
And the thing that he does and the way that he corrupts people around him is scary. You know, although the series started with, yes, corrupt cops using Frank's logo, he weaponized that. He used that to his advantage. He turned those people into practically a private army. And then the way that, you know, he builds a literal, like, you know, prison and just sends anybody who disagrees with him to prison that's, you know, off the books, underground, and they're in cages. Like, that's terrifying, and certainly something that we've never seen in human history before. So, and although all of this is terrifying and scary for, you know, the real world aspects of it, just to bring it back to the MCU for a second, this concept made me excited in a similar way back when, in like whenever the fuck Captain America came out, of the idea of the Avengers teaming up, of like, oh my God, they're doing this thing, it's going to be massive, like this thing is going to be huge, it connects various things. For me, this is now like, this has become something broader and bigger than just a few streets in Hell's Kitchen. And I cannot wait to see how that plays out.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, like with the Thunderbolts and stuff, like, I mean, God, you know, there's been talk about, you know, we've wanted to know for ages what the asterisks mean, and it's like, fuck me, mate. What if Thunderbolts finishes and, like, I don't know, the team splits, right? They do a Daredevil and Punisher split. A bunch of them are like, no, we fucking hit the guys and they stay down. And then it's like, we've got a call from the mayor of New York, he wants to see you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's the sort of, but I think that what's good about it is, and what's interesting is that they've done such a good job. Like, no, they've done a decent job. Like I say, there's been hiccups in the past in this season, but they've ended it on such a note where it's like, where does he go from here? As much as, you know, and it's where we've always loved about the Netflix shows, where it's like, where did these two guys go from here? Because it was like, even, you know, in the Netflix one, when Fisk got arrested, it was like, right, well, we know he gets out. We know he's going to get out somehow. What's he going to do? And with this, it's like, right, how the fuck is Matt going to beat the mayor of New York now? Like, what do you do? Because all you've got is Josie. Yeah,
she's not giving you
really
the shots that you need. Shots of whiskey are great, but right now we may need bigger things than that.
Yeah, Jesus.
But anyway, let's move on to your heaven section, mate.
So yeah, mine's pretty similar. It's the Punisher and Daredevil like meet up. Just as soon as he walks in the flat, it's just poetry, and then it all kicks off.
And he has some brilliant lines as well.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what is that, your new costume? No, he said, are you always just a wall-to-wall asshole? I was just like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that
He
even
calls
mean?
him Nightgown Man.
That's it, Nightgown Man. I'm like, God, Frank, you're just shit with the quips, aren't you, kid? Like, yeah, you need a word from Peter Parker. He'll sort you out. Yeah, that was it was great. It was exactly what you wanted it to be. As was, like you said, the fight near the end, like, just Frank's typical fighting a losing battle, like, and Eamon kindly sort of posted it on our socials today. Like, I wrote a piece about where Frank's story can go from there, but it was like, I think the brilliant thing is, and I think I said in it, where it's like, Frank Castle is only caged for as long as he wants to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, he's only in a position as long as he wants to. He'll be fucked when he comes out of it, but he's only there for as long as he wants to be. And, the icing on the cake was like, I got a call. Someone called me to come and help you. And then the car pulls up and you're like, of course it's Karen.
Yeah.
Of course it's Karen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Karen, our sweet Karen's back. Because my soon-to-be mentioned hell section is just doing my tits in. But yeah, just their dynamic again is brilliant, of where, like, she turns up, like Matt's like, I'm riding shotgun. Frank does, he's like, like, they're just like, I want this as a road trip. Like, make it a longer trip to get back to wherever they need to go. And then they're in like Frank's holdout, and it's like, I think they say, like, are you coming with? And he's like, no, I've got stuff to deal with here. And then Karen just calls him out, and she's like, I think you're all talk. Like, I think this is just all a front. Like, take care of yourself. Like, and there's that, and they have the conversation later where, like, they're chatting and you see Matt in the background, like, tilt his head, and you're like, this is fucking brilliant, man.
I did like their conversation. Well, Matt and Karen's conversation later on, where he's like,
well, that's also in my heaven section of, like, it's just Karen being back in general, because it's like I think the thing that was always, but yeah, I think, in fact, yeah, that's Jesus, yeah, that is it. Like, with the Netflix show, Foggy was always the heart, and now the heart's gone, so we need some heart surgery, so we need a replacement heart. And it's like, we've not had that through this whole season, and now it's back. So when they have that conversation, and it's like, I heard your heartbeat when you were talking to Frank, like, it picked up a bit, and then she's like, well, what did it sound like when I saw you or something? And it's just like, there's clearly that thing there, and it's just like, oh, guys, just get back together, man. Because Matt, your ex, mate, oh boy, more on her in a bit. I mean, but yeah, just her, their brilliant conversations. When they go to Red Hook, and you said to me, I asked you once, what's it like, being blind? And he said, it's not dark, it's like 1,000 suns, and like. So here's my issue, right? Whilst I love this conversation, why have they gone all the way there? Like, it's such a wasted trip.
It is such a long time. However,
it makes no sense.
My counterpoint is...
Oh, I've got a counterpoint to your counterpoint. Hold on, keep going.
I've got a counterpoint, because this is perfect for Matt and Karen. Because Matt is obviously the pig-headed or devil-headed man that he is. He's like, no, fuck this, I'm going in, like, I want to beat the shit out of them, save Frank, get everybody out, kill Fisk.
Hold on, no,
right,
because does he know Frank's there?
Okay, fair enough, he doesn't know Frank's there.
Oh, no, Eamon, he should know Frank's there, because he should be able to hear him. Fair, that's fine, but Karen calls... No further questions, Your Honour.
Sustained. Karen calls him out on it, and she's like, well, you'll fucking die.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that for them, because that is them. Like, she will absolutely call him out on his shit when she knows that he would, serve the situation better by actually retreating. And like, I just feel like that small moment just gets their dynamic and their relationship really, like, on point.
Yes. No, I won't dispute that, right? So like I say, the conversation itself is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the location. And in my head, I'm like, have you only done this just to literally have the wide shot of New York, where it's like the city's powered down, but there's still some embers on. I'm like, oh, fuck me, symbolism, eh? Like, I'm like, I get it, but like, you shouldn't be there. There's no reason. You've not even had a conversation of like, let's go to Red Hook, because if it's like, right, if they're going to Red Hook, Frank should be like, I'll just meet you on the way. Like, I don't know, he hears it on the radio and whatever, but like, I don't know. It was just a really odd thing where I was like, why are you two here? And I don't know. It was strange. But it undoes it all, because it's like you say, they have the conversation in the records room, like they're going through the files and stuff. The avocados at law moment is amazing. At law. Yeah, and like I say, they're like, did you hear my heartbeat? What's my heartbeat when I saw you? Did it like, it's just great to have. It's not. I think with this is one of those rare occasions, right, where you go, it's not fan service. It's not let's have a cameo. Like, she needs to come back, because without her, Matt's fucked, as he is clearly apparent through this whole season. Not drastically, but you know what I mean. Like,
it's just off kilter.
It's off kilter. He's lost his compass, so he needs something to replace it. And it's like, of course, it's got to be Karen. So yeah, that was great. And I will, on this rarest of occasion, take off my shoe and put it firmly in my mouth, because I was very impressed by Blake reaching not Sorcerer Supreme, but Scumbag Supreme levels. Like, the midnight meeting where he's like, this is insane. What is it like? It's like head of operations, such and such. He's just basically writing it. He is Randall. He's doing the very thing Randall from Recess. You see at the start of an episode, he writes down notes. Like, he's literally being Randall.
I love the moment when he leans back to Book and he's like, "Oh, how much was it again? Oh, 500 grand in an offshore account." Yeah, of course it was.
Again, full Gandolfini. The Gandolfini gene is running thick in this scene, man.
I mean, it continues to run thick towards the end of the episode when he's literally twirling like his ring on his finger whilst leaning on a desk. I was like,
well, he keeps doing it. He did it when he was talking to BB as well. Yeah. Well, mate, this is, as I say, I'm still watching Sopranos, and like, to cut between these two is fucking great. But yeah, so Punisher and Daredevil, Karen being back, Blake, and we will talk about it. Like, the post-credit scene.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the post-credit scene, mate.
So like, I think, again, an issue that's continuous through this whole show. Like, I like what it's setting up. The execution isn't great, because it's like the man is. It's like talking to a tiger. Like, what's your name? If like, you know who he is. Like, you know who Frank Castle is, and he's like, oh, what's your name? Like, I'd just be like, I'm not telling you. Sure.
It's when he sticks his hand through the gate. I was like, yeah, but you know what he's gonna do, right? That man is going to detach your arm forcibly.
Your arm is absolutely going the wrong direction very quick. He's like, oh, Anthony Petrucci. He's like, where are you from? He's like, Jersey. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is bonkers. But I love it because I know what's coming. And it's like, I think the brilliance of like Frank Castle is like, he is like this like bastardized version of like Marvel's Jason Voorhees or like Mike Myers, where like you see him come in and you're like, oh, this is anyone who's in the room, they're so fucked. Like we've got tough nut villain, we've got tough nut heroes like Wolverine and I don't know, that's probably it. Do you know what I mean? Of that level where it's like, both of them are good at what they do, and what they do isn't very nice. Mm-hmm. Like Frank just having this conversation with this guy, you're like, fucking hell, what are you doing? And then obviously it just cuts, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, because we don't actually need to see it. That's the brilliance of it. Even though it would be great, obviously, of course it would. We don't need to see that yet. Like, that's just it plays into the cliffhanger of it all. I loved it. It was great.
Absolutely. I want to get back to this like after we've done a hell section, because I got shit to say about this.
You do got shit to say. Yeah, let's talk about the hell section.
Dip into the hell section then. Am I alright to go first? Actually,
of course you are.
We'll bounce back. We'll zip around, right? So my hell section is hopefully not the last, but like Heather the absolute flannel.
Oh,
like,
God. Again, I just wanna, say we don't hate the actress. We're not that bad. It's just the writing is really poor.
There's two lines. There's two quotes that I took. So when right, it's like a branch off of a hell section of this. So when they're in the hospital, right, and Matt's waking up and he has his Hermione moment where he's like, Karen, and I'm like, fuck off. Like, you've not even thought about her for 4 episodes, man. Come on. And she's like, oh. And then What's the Chops is like, yeah, it's the drugs. I'm like, it's definitely
not the drugs, mate.
It's not the drugs.
Ignore it.
The drugs don't work. They just make you worse.
There it is.
But there's 2 quotes she says now. There's 2 lines she says, and I was like, just shut up. Like, please, if there is any good writer out there, just shut her up. There's one time where she goes, where they're talking about like Dex getting away and the assassination attempt. So, they're talking about the shot, and then Heather says, "You do realise that they were the ones getting shot at?" And I'm like, "Shut up, Heather! Like, just shut up." And then, hold on. Oh, that was it. Matt says to her, "Whatever you think you know about Fisk, you don't." And I was like, "No, she doesn't, Matt, because she's clearly not read a newspaper in the past 10 fucking years. Like, as is anyone in New York." But yeah, I was just like, and then she fucking ends up being the head of mental health in fucking New York, and I'm just like,
what I will say is that I am interested to see how that dynamic with Matt changes in season 2, as he's like, literally, you're on his side. What the fuck are you doing? That would be. I
got theories.
That would be interesting to see.
When you say his side, who are we talking? Matt's side?
Fisk's side.
Yeah, so I have theories, right? What if, just what if, they do what the Sopranos didn't, and Fisk and his therapist end up having an affair?
No, don't want it.
I know you don't want it, but you hate that there's a little bit of possibility there.
No, because that would go against everything that Fisk has ever said.
I know it would. I know it would, Eammon. And wouldn't that be mad?
Yeah, mad fucking stupid.
Aye, we'll see.
No,
I
don't know.
Well, it's the only way to make it.
Not sure I buy into that one.
It's the only way to make it fucking interesting, if I'm totally honest.
Ooh,
but like, let's be real. Like we've said, you know, she's been again not the actress's fault. It's the writer's fault. It's dreadful, right?
There is a world in which she could have been a really good way of like analysing not only Matt, obviously Fisk as well, and having her be the sort of, you know, conduit for all of that, and it did not work. I think they tried to do it a little bit, and it just did not work. It fell flat on his ass, which is a shame because it could have been good.
I think because like, also you've got to there's certain details you've got to factor in, right? One is she still doesn't know that Max Daredevil Fisk does.
Oh, so that's definitely going to happen in season 2.
So what's going to happen? Like, how's she going to find out? Is he going to tell her? When he does, excuse me, how will that change her trajectory? Will she become even more fucking, you know,
belligerent?
Probably loathsome, yeah. But just interesting that, just an interesting little thing. But yeah, just fucking do something better with the next season, man. Like, I'll be honest, mate, I would not be surprised if, like, somehow she gets killed off. I don't know if they look at the reaction and go, have we written ourselves into a corner? Like, have we actually got good plans for her? Because as much as, you know, Tom's right, as much as I've shat on fucking Daniel Blake this whole season, not Donald, because he's a legend, Thor, as much as I've shat on Daniel Blake this whole season, like, there is now potential. Like, he is mini Fisk in the making.
He is, and I do think her getting promoted and being folded into the Fisk's administration is potential. I just think it needs to go further than just commissioner for mental health. Like, it needs to be a bit more closer than that.
I mean, it'd be cool if she became like a legit, you know, like almost like a criminal analyst, but for like vigilantes, where she's like,
exactly, mate.
She's really studying Daredevil, and she's like, what if she's studying Daredevil? She's like, oh my god, it's Matt.
Oh fuck, I've been an idiot.
Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. You're like, yes, you are, love. Yeah,
no, exactly.
just do something
that's
with
such
her.
a good way of doing it. Like, give her an almost like Clarice Sterling kind of approach with vigilantes, of being sort of an expert in that, and like if she's the one interrogating them in prison, that would be a really interesting way of getting, and without sounding a bit typical Marvel fan, of getting in some cameos.
Yeah,
you could,
I suppose.
or even just introducing new ones that we've not seen, or setting stuff up. For example, Hector Ayala's niece.
I was literally about to say,
If she starts becoming a vigilante and then winds up getting arrested, it would be really interesting to have that conversation through Heather. So
yeah,
and
eventually, she could, it sounds formulaic as fuck, but like exactly what you're saying. So they have a conversation. Heather slowly starts to sway and be like, you know what, these guys actually are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, she ends up getting killed by Fisk, giving Matt even more reasons to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
just do something with her is essentially what we're asking. That'd be really nice.
Just add a bit more depth to her, because it is a shame.
Yeah, massively. What else we got in the house? Excuse me, in the house section. Yeah, the house section, as I say, I mentioned earlier, like just the location of Karen and Matt's conversation was just funny. Also, I think I like the intention and the aim of Matt's army. Right, as much as I've shat on going, Josie's a joke. Like, I did like the idea of like literally scanning around the room, and you've got the name of the female police officer that's the bank robbery. Fails me, I've completely escapes me. But she's there, Cherry's there, 2 police officers are there that we've not seen before. Obviously Josie's there, and I'm like, I think what we've spoken about repeatedly about this particular season is how it continues to do what Netflix's run did, which is, it makes the city a character. It makes the low-level characters worth being interested in. Like, I wanted your man who stole the caramel corn to turn up, like, just to be in there, like, a guy on the inside.
Nick, I hate to correct you, but he was actually in the finale.
Was he?
Very, very briefly. Now, towards the end, you get a bit of a montage of the various New York citizens. He is one of them, just walking along a crosswalk. It is literally a second, but it is him.
All right, cool. So yeah, I think what I like about this is, because obviously, would it be sort of lazy, and would it be lazy for next season to sort of up the ante, and by the end of next season he's got the army that we want to see him with, but now he's got to work with what he's got, right? And I like the idea of he's actually got police on the inside. Do you know what I mean? Matt has got connections now. Like, Cherry's still got his finger in pies and shit and knows what he's doing. But like, I do like this idea of like this almost like underground network.
Yeah.
Of like building this small group that, and it's in the comics. Like, he knows certain people. He's got Ben Urich, which now he doesn't. But then it's like, but now BB wasn't really present, but she was near the end. Like, she's looking a bit forlorn. Like that, like you say, that montage, what it felt like? It felt like a early 2000s teaser trailer to a next season.
Yeah.
Where it's like, like, you remember like the trailers for Lost, where they're all on different sections of the beach, just like stood there looking around and stuff. I was like, I kind of see what you're doing, but whatever, we'll just go with this. But yeah, like, I think my only problem with it is just how it was handled. I don't know, there was just something. Like, I would have liked them to sort of go, because I'm sure a lot of people went, oh, why isn't it Defenders? And I'd like them to, if we're going to speak Matt Murdock speak, like, argue their case as to go, here's why all these people are valuable. Here's why, of like, I would have loved if rather than the montage we got, have a montage of Daredevil going like, I know what I'm asking of you, but I need your help. I need you to be on the inside. And then cut to police officer in the police station. Yeah. Cut to Cherry on the street. Do you know what I mean? Like, show me why these people are actually useful, rather than just being like, here's all the people that we've seen so far. And it's like, mint, why? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just, I just think it was a bit iffily executed.
I think we did get a hint of that ever so slightly, where he says resist, rebel, rebuild, and I feel like that was, although he wasn't directly speaking to the
absolutely
officers, I feel like that was like thematically maybe the point. But I completely get it. It needed some sort of
just some oomph of being like, oh shit. Like, we are in this shit, but this is why Matt is just still clever, and he's still, like, the cogs are still... Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
So it was Angie Kim. Angie Kim is the detective.
Thank you, yeah.
Because I know we've spoken about her a few times, and we've both been like, that detective whose name we've forgotten. So it's Angie Kim. Angie Kim. Played by Rubio Kian. There we go.
But yeah, that's pretty much my hell section done. I've got some honourable mentions, but I'll wait till you're done.
Okay, grand. I have two, I'd say, major/minor points for my hell section. The first, which personally I feel is the most egregious, is the way Cole North has been depicted this entire season.
Bonkers.
I felt like I was waiting for the moment of Cole being like, I want to do the right thing, because that is Cole's whole story in the comics.
So mate, just for people that don't know,
yeah,
because we've talked about it in the past, but like you know it more than I do.
So basically, Cole turns up in Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run, which I know I have. Basically, drink every time I mention.
Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
That's your Sopranos.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, fair. Absolutely spot on. That and Devil's Reign, which I'm about to mention again. Basically, he shows up in that run, and his whole aim, essentially, is to stop vigilantism. So I understand why they've introduced him in this. However, in the comics, he's very much... his moral compass isn't compromised. You know, he still believes in doing the right thing. He just believes that vigilantes aren't doing it properly and that they need to be held accountable, which, do you know what? Fair. But, you know... He operates on the sort of morally ambiguous side, not nearly as close as like Frank, say, but he's not afraid to like, you know, cut corners in a way that would be seen as corrupt. But the key point is that he does become a Daredevil ally. Like he is a good person. This Cole categorically is not a good person, to the point where
he killed the White Tiger.
He's, you know, he doesn't have a moral compass at this point, clearly. There is no part of this character so far that I've seen and gone, oh yeah, I can see him becoming on Matt's side. Like, that's not going to happen. And if it does, they're going to have to do some pretty fucking heavy legwork to make that work, because it's just... This is a man who literally executed a man in the street. The Cole in the comics dishes out a few beatings, fine, but, you know, doesn't execute people for the sake of it. And I just think it's...
Well, he's dead now, so it doesn't matter.
Is he dead, though?
What? He's fucking... Mate, his hand stuck to a wall and a grenade went into the fucking building. He's absolutely dead. Like... I'd be Frank Castle even more pissed off.
I mean,
if like
nobody.
Oh, shut up! What brilliant. So not only have you wasted one of the most valuable characters you could have used, like there's no like I'd love to know the logic behind you. Like you're bang on. I totally thought about this. I'd love to know the logic behind why they thought this was a good idea.
That's what I mean, because it goes against everything that character stands for in the comics, and I just think it's just a bad move.
Because it's not a stretch to say. Would you agree? Like he's like the Bullock to Daredevil's Batman.
Yeah, definitely.
He's not Gordon. He's not like this guy's fighting for us. He's like, I don't trust you, but like
he's not a goody two shoes. And again, the whole point of his introduction in the comics is the fact that he, you know, wants to put Daredevil away for, you know, just operating a little bit too brutish, which again is a fair comment. But this Cole is just a straight up corrupt police officer who clearly enjoys murder, and I just disagree with that entirely for that character, which is such a shame, because again, it could have been really interesting going into season 2 if we're talking about building an army. Like, having somebody on the inside like that would have been great, you know.
Well, you know, we've backed the idea of like Powell slowly turning. Like if Powell was there, I'd be like, oh man, this is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Like,
but if if this had been Cole the entire time, I'd have been a bit more like, do you know what? I could make this work. Whereas instead, it's just like this supporting character who's just a bit bloody, and I'm like, no.
It's very odd. It's a very odd decision.
Yeah,
really strange.
You could have just called that character literally like fucking John Smith.
Yeah,
like, do you know what I mean?
I mean, you know, I think like the obvious sort of argument they'll probably make was like, oh, we wanted to keep the diehard fans on their toes, and it's like, we'll do it with something else.
Yeah.
Like you killed Foggy. Like we've done, that's enough. Like, like. You've thrown us off straight off the bat. You don't have to. Yeah, just really odd, really strange. But yeah, fair man. About that.
It's a shame. But my only other point is that the Freeport explanation, you know, when Matt and Karen are in the sort of the archive room or wherever they are, although it's kind of like I get it, and it's a really good way of sort of moving the Fisks story forward and like again builds up the sort of bigger stakes for season 2. I actually think it needed acknowledgement from the Fisks because we never really hear them talk about it at all. I think towards the end you needed something to be like, and this is why we're doing this. I just think it kind of felt a little bit last minute and a bit rushed.
Would you say that like realistically we've talked about parallels through this whole show, like Vanessa explaining it to Fisk, Karen explaining it to Matt at the same time, literally like almost like a perfectly like timed conversation of them both being like, shit, this is what you've been doing all the time.
And if she explains like, you know, and because we've got this, we can do X, Y, Z.
This,
you know
this, and this,
Just maybe, I don't know. And if we'd got that, maybe I would complain that it's too much exposition. I don't know, but it just felt a little bit light on that explanation front.
I get you.
As the sort of like, and big twist, here we go. I was like, oh, cool. Now what?
yeah. No, that's fair. I get that. Like, I just thought. I mean, this says so much about you. Difference between you and me, mate. You're like, I want more details on this. I'm like, I'm really pissed off that like they had a conversation about like a flirtatious conversation, and within 2 seconds of Karen turning around, she finds the box. She literally just went, yeah, heartbeats. There it is. Like, I was like, the fuck? Surely you'd have seen that coming in. Like, what's going on? It just was really random.
Karen, you've dragged this out, mate.
yeah, just really straight. Like, I'm honest, I've been sat in this box this whole conversation, but I'll let you know. But yeah, I get you. Have you done, is that your health section complete?
That is my health section complete. I have like, there's little niggles, just like, you know, bits of pacing and in terms of like, even though I praised it, like the apartment fight, I feel like could have been lit a lot better because it was like dark and grey for most of it. There was like no colour in it at all, and I was like, come on, just give me a bit of something. But yeah,
fair. I've just remembered, you know, when you like, it's almost, listeners, I promise you I wasn't pissed this morning at 8 o'clock, at 8:30 this morning, but you know when you read back on notes, you're like, what are you actually trying to say? I've got honourable mentions go to this is heaven/hell, whatever. My honourable mentions go, Commissioner Gallo, because quote Fisk says, Commissioner Gallo chose to resign, and I'm like, yeah, and you've managed to cover it up within 24 hours. That's really impressive. Like, why is his wife not being like, he's not come home tonight, and he's usually home by 7.
I've still got his tea on the table.
Yeah. Where's his head at? Also, I've got when Fisk is basically sort of announcing where he's like, no body cams, no due process, and you basically, all the AVTF guys are just literally stood there like looking at each other like, we're gonna fucking, this is mint. Like, it was almost like a Dutch ruddering of like, he's talking and they're just all universally knocking one out at this. I just thought it was really funny that like Cole and Powell actually give each other a look and be like, oh, job shit, like this is sick. And I was like, no, you're grim. But yeah, also just, I love them to bits. Can we stop having a conversation? Can we, if we could go for one Frank Matt encounter where Matt doesn't say, leave it, Frank, he's not worth it. Just once. Just once. Just say something different. I know you don't like it, mate, but just let's throw something different out there.
Pack it in, Frank, you silly old bastard.
I would pay good money. Pack it in, you silly old bastard. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, let's talk about that, right? So how it's ended. Can we go? What do you want to talk about now? Because are we going to do comments from people? Because I want to talk about like predictions, expectations, if possible.
Okay, right. Let's talk about expectations, then we'll move into comments.
Okay, so what are your predictions and expectations? Coincidentally, Eammon, about the next season.
Unfortunately, like, because when we watched this, we were immediately confronted with set photos. So unfortunately, my expectations were kind of molded by what we'd just seen. So we saw set photos with like missing posters for Matt Murdock, and obviously Karen and Matt dressed sort of incognito on the streets. Karen was wearing a red wig, and Matt was wearing the typical Marvel disguise of a long jacket and a hoodie. All they needed was the sunglasses, and then we're golden.
Also interesting that when Frank hears the conversation on the radio, one of the AVTS guys does say, was he like, we're looking out for a blonde. We're looking for the blonde and Daredevil. I was like, yeah, you'll say blonde now because she's red next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was cool.
So my expectations are that they're on the run. They are operating maybe a little bit more like Matt in season 3. Bit more just like street based and not as like with with the resources that they usually have, etc. And a
cool little nod as well to the season 3 where the guy who was robbing the TV store, they're like, no, he's a vigilante, and they put the Matt's old school Frank Miller scarf on, whatever. I was like, where have they found that from?
Did he have a hat on or something? And I think they literally just pulled it further down. Did they? I think so. But it was definitely the visual of the with the little white bandage underneath. Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, so my in terms of predictions, it's gonna be Karen and Matt running a resistance out of New York. Hopefully recruiting some other vigilantes. I mean, my top pick is obviously Jessica Jones. Obviously.
Above, so out of all the defenders, she's your top one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine.
We didn't get enough of her and Matt interacting in the defenders personally.
And it was gold.
And it was gold. It was gold. Do we have to mention the immortal line of "I'll punch you so hard you'll see"? Come on. I need more of that in my life. Nick.
No, but also, what does she say? What does she say before they cross the street? Where she's like, oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
and he's got the full outfit on.
yeah. I just need more of them two in my life. She's fantastic. Plus, I think her take on this entire situation would be fascinating. Because
in what way? What do you think would happen?
Because although she's not a quote unquote vigilante. Where does she fit into all of this? Because she's got powers, but she doesn't dress up. She's a PI. So how does that sort of work for her in terms of, is the law coming after her? Because she was, pretty public about being her being having superpowers was made public knowledge. So do the authorities know that, and have they gone to find her, etc., etc. So it's things like that I'm really interested to see how they handle and how far they want to take this whole storyline, really. Because although they could...
Also, it's the thing of...
I was going to say,
sorry.
Although, we've all heard that Spider-Man can't be on a TV show, are they going to address that in any way? I'm not expecting Spider-Man to be in this in any way, shape or form. I don't think that's going to happen at all. However...
We'd both have nosebleeds if it happened.
Of course we would. I would lose my shit. But I would love to hear them address it. Even if it's just something over one of the task force's radios of oh shit, there's a guy in a red and blue costume swinging through the streets. What the fuck? I can't shoot him. Something like that. Because again, we got it in, towards the start of the season of Fisk being like, oh, dressed as a spider.
In a spider suit.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's those kind of references mean.
I've got eyes on the wall crawler.
Yeah, those kind of references to me mean more sometimes than them actually showing up, because then it makes the world feel a little bit more real. Because if Spider-Man's at the opposite end of the city, it feels stupid for him to be wherever the action is in like 2 seconds sometimes. So to have it just like as a mention, I'm like, that feels more concrete and real.
It's one small brick in a house of ideas.
Bosh.
Like, it's just...
There it is.
It's just a nice little... Yeah. But also, like, go to your point about Jessica Jones, like, in fact, if anything, now more than ever, he probably needs a PI.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, they literally could say the line of being like, Cherry's like, mate, I'm understaffed. Like, I need help. Like, you've got me as a PI. Like, do you know anyone else?
Cherry and JJ as a PI team. Mate, get you on the fucking writer's room now, because I need it.
Can you imagine them just doing a stakeout? Be like, so how do you know Matt? Don't want to talk about it.
Just ripping into his costume. Yes.
Yeah. Anyone that wanders around with a horn must be a bellend. Right. So you've got expectations of Jessica Jones coming back. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I mean, look, I personally do not think that this show is ever going to kill Wilson Fisk, and nor should they. I expect Fisk to either go back to prison or be put in somewhere like the Raft, or escape completely. Because he's too much of a good character to just simply get rid of. That would be stupid. But if they, however the story sort of resolves, and however, Daredevil sort of removes him from office, for lack of a better term, it needs to be in a way that Fisk can come back, because he is too good to get rid of. Like, Vincent D'Onofrio, as you sort of mentioned earlier, is more terrifying than Thanos at times. And like, they'd be stupid to kill him off. That's, we were all concerned when he got shot at the end of Hawkeye. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also that thing of like we spoke about earlier about, in the comics he gets as far as becoming the White King. Like he continues to go up, and he goes up. He occasionally goes up, right? So like we say, he's now mayor, and it's like, with. I know, again, I don't know the specifics of the Sony sort of regulations and stuff, but like, by now with Spider-Man, I mean, fucking hell, is an Osborn going to turn up at some point? Because as much as we talk about, we love seeing heroes together, we haven't actually seen enough villains together. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've never seen, I don't know. We're never going to see fucking Red Skull chats at Obadiah Stane, but like,
yeah,
no, but do you know what I mean? Like Fisk has had chats with Fisk and Bullseye are great together. We know this, right? I did another piece / film of like the expectations of that I want for next season, and it's personally, I'm like, narrow down your villains. Don't have another muse, or no, have another muse, but don't waste it. Like. Either have a villain that directly connects to Kingpin, literally like 1-to-1, or don't, or not at all, because it's just like you're just treading water with stuff that we're actually more interested in.
Or play to your strengths and move people like Buck up a bit. If you want to make him scarier, do it, because like in the comics he is a full on supervillain.
So yeah, who is he in the comics? Is it Bullet?
Yeah, he's Bullet. Yeah.
So what's his thing?
He's very much like sort of Buck in
Bullseye.
He's kind of like Bullseye. Yeah, he's a very good assassin, for to just briefly describe it.
Yeah.
But if play to the strengths, you've already set him up. You've already put in some groundwork. Use him, make him scary, make him Fisk's Grim Reaper. Just
mate, Frank v Bullet.
Now there's an idea.
There's an idea. Like you have your two levels of action in the finale of season 2, and it's Fisk and Matt and Punisher and Bullet, and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
oh,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
And that would feel natural and earned because we already know this character. We've already spent time with him. We already know that he's like low key terrifying. I'm just thinking of that restaurant headshot.
Just not fucking about.
So I completely agree on the villains front, mate.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Anything else?
That's kind of it from me. How about you?
Fair. My hopes, dreams, aspirations in Hell's Kitchen are the obvious one is just get Frank back.
Oh,
as much as we sort of go. Do we want this to be the Frank and Matt show? Yeah,
a little bit.
We do a little bit. My only concern. So again, like I wrote a piece talking about how I would love it. I would fuck it. And we spoke about this off podcast when me and Eammon would watch the whole thing, and it was how the post credit scene teased stuff up. I would absolutely love the special presentation for one to be just Frank busting out of this prison.
Mate,
just give me Frank Castle's The Raid of just trying to get out of wherever the fuck he is. Even like the last shot of him like opening the door and he's like, where, like he's somewhere in Hell's Kitchen. He's like, I don't know where the fuck I am. I need to get Matt like immediately. Just because like we know. So Entertainment Weekly did a piece about it when it got announced, and they confirmed that John Bernthal had the idea about it whilst he was making this. And I'm like, was he just sat in the cell and be like, what if we just did a film about me busting out of here? With the swordsman as well, and like, because also then it's like, and then season 2 kicks in and it's like Frank's back and Matt's like, God, is it just you? And he's like, no, I brought someone with me, and it's the fucking swordsman.
Yeah, man.
Like, we've talked about how he's a fan favourite, and I'm like, he's not really that much in this season. We've seen wanky fucking handheld footage of him doing stuff, but it's not really been.
It's not been swordsman
a lot.
It's been Tony Dalton.
yeah. Just you saw you did see footage, didn't you, of stabbing bad guys.
A guy dressed in black with a sword, and it was kind of implied that it was him, but you didn't see Tony. Well, it's Tony Dalton doing a fight,
No. But then it's also, you add in the idea of we've talked this week about the final episode being, it was great of seeing Billy Club and Bullets in fucking mid-fight of just both of them going at it. How does Frank operate next to a guy who just uses swords? What does that look like? Where, if Swordsman does get out, where does he get a sword from? Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing of just being is he just going to go with a baton? Is he literally just give us something like that. I would just love. I mean, because how long was Werewolf at Midnight? 40 minutes?
It was if a push, maybe 50, including credits. It wasn't like a full. Although it was a special presentation, it wasn't like a movie.
Yeah, we know via fucking Adolescence that you can do an hour long one-er, right? Just give us. Please give us Frank Castle, the Punisher breakout. That's all you need. And start it as soon as he's broken that arm. Even picture the scene, blank screen. You hear the guard scream. You see, and then it just open. As soon as it opens up, you hear a key turn and Frank's just out, and that's it. The beast is loose, and he's just fucking going through folk, and for 50 minutes because. As much as we talk about, John Bernthal is, emotional and, you don't know my pain, you don't know my hurt. No, we don't. But we do like you killing a lot of people.
We do, but there's still ways of weaving that in because, obviously, Bernthal has made, and I'm paraphrasing here, comments about the special presentation, about it being, a really important chapter in Frank's story and stuff. So, depending on how they approach it, because it could well easily be that Frank starts freeing other people that are in the cages. So you could still get those emotional moments of him having conversations with other people. So you don't have to just spend it literally being the one-er over a 50-minute fight scene. You can have that one-er also include conversations about why Frank does what he does and why he's the very best at what he does and what he does is not very nice. You can still fold that in. Or Nick's about to just shit on my idea.
Or no, I agree with you. Or you do it in such a way where you give 15, 20 minutes of Frank and the swordsman just talking to start off with.
Ooh.
And then they go silent, and then the guard walks past, and then Frank's like, "Fuck this, I'm going. I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here." Yeah. And like that, you basically they basically do the Bourne Ultimatum, where you're like, "Oh shit, we're halfway through, and we've got to the point of where we were last time we saw him."
That's a good idea.
That would be fucking.
Especially
I just want to see.
What was nice was Tony Dalton's swordsman in Hawkeye was quite funny. Was quite sort of like had like quips and stuff. And then in this, although there was still that element there, when he has that conversation with Fisk, it was like he took it very seriously. So putting him in that position with Frank would be really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Also, in terms of things I want to see, so I want Karen and Matt back together.
I mean, do I even need to?
Fuck. Yeah, goes without saying. Fuck Heather off. Sorry, Heather. Sorry, love. You're the head of mental health. You're clearly a bit mental. Because you think Fisks is sound. Foggy Nelson needs to stay dead.
Foggy Nelson needs to stay dead.
Do we agree?
Absolutely. Because if you're going to do something that serious, you need to commit to it. You need to stick by it. You need to... Because otherwise, if not, you go back on...
All this is for nothing.
All this has been for nothing. All of Matt's development and... decisions this season have been for fuck all. And it would essentially just throw that back in the face of fans of being like, you were all upset he's still alive, lol. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that's not something, personally, that I take lightly, quite frankly. And if Marvel did that, I would be really pissed off. And yes, I know we had the whole conversation about the issue in which Foggy dies, and it was the address on the street where the
witness protection, all that jazz.
I don't fucking want it. I said it in that episode. I don't fucking want it. Like, Foggy needs to stay dead. As much as it hurts me, he does. That's not to say that Eldon Henson can't come back and be the,
Well, he is.
Yeah, of course he is.
We know he is, don't they? They've said it. Yeah.
I either want it to be a flashback or him being the angel on Matt's shoulder, because I do not want Foggy to come back, because it just steps on everything that we've spent like over a month.
You know what would be cool? It'd be cool if Matt's like going through his files and it's literally an episode of just Foggy. Of Foggy cracking the case and like figuring stuff
Give
out.
Foggy
and it's
a
like
whole episode. Yes.
Yeah.
Great idea.
That'd be really cool.
Great idea.
So yeah, he needs to stay dead. Cut down on your villains. Stop having the fucking debate with Frank and Matt about like stop it, Frank, you silly bastard. Unless they use that and it's gold.
Pack it in, Frank, you silly old bastard. If they put the Hot Fuzz clip in somehow on a TV or something, I would lose my shit.
No, I'd love it if it just panned over and Nick Frost is there and he's like, "Are you talking to me or him?" But then also I want, we've talked about cameos, we've talked about the Defenders and stuff, but I also just want it to push further out to the MCU.
Yeah.
Like I want Moon Knight in Daredevil season 2.
Okay, my only counterpoint is that Moon Knight
here we go.
largely took place in London.
Well, it also largely took place in fucking Egypt.
Exactly. So then that's quite a stretch to then go to New York as well, isn't it?
Can you please recite the 3 personalities of Moon Knight, please?
Yes, I
Eamon,
understand. I know where you're going with this.
Where am I going with this, Eamon?
Stephen Grant.
Who is what?
Who is a millionaire.
No, also.
Playboy.
Who's revealed at the very end of the episode?
Jay Lotley.
Who is what?
Bit of a prick.
Taxi driver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, not a fucking pilot, Nick.
No. No, but like, just have a fucking NYC cabbie picking people up and dropping them off, and it's like, this bloke's really weird, Matt, that we've hired, because he just keeps talking to himself. Like, oh, mate, just get him in.
I'm just playing, devil's advocate.
He's being a dick.
I am being a dick. Of course, it would be cool to see Moon Knight and Daredevil fight together. That would be sick. But I just think it needs to be justified. Because if you're going to do that, are you going to address Khonshu? Are you going to address the F. Murray Abraham in the room? Because he should be there chattering away in his head. Like, do you?
Yeah, but then that's the same. We say then we do, what if She-Hulk turns up in Born Again season 2? Like, is she going to start looking at the camera? If Wade Wilson, do you know what I mean? Like, those are the things where it's like, this is the problem that we've got as well. Like, I saw theories about like Elektra coming back, and like, I had a really interesting idea as well about it'd be cool. I know this is dragging, mate. This is fucking hour and a half in. Jesus, sorry, mate. Like, it's final episode. It's going to be a bumper one.
It was absolutely going to be a long one.
You wait till the Ben Affleck one. We're going to be steaming as well. But like, I had a mad off theory, right? You know, the Fist saga.
Yes.
Right. So what if Frank, like, somehow sways people to him? Like, he's already got people on his side, right? But then he slowly goes, I could actually work with this. I could have a team of Punishers working under me. And then Matt's like, Frank, this is a fucking problem. And then Frank's like, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And we have not like a hand fist. Because what is it? What's the group Frank ends up leading in the comics? Is it Fist?
He ends up leading a version of the hand, basically.
Which he calls the
turns
Fist.
it into the Fist, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I have a weird thing of like... I don't know, like a West Side Story version, but like Daredevil and Frank.
I have already seen people theorising that we are going to get Shadowland.
Yeah, well, you fucking started, mate. This podcast and this was your fault.
I still don't think we're going to get Shadowland. I feel like adding ninjas into the mix right now will just make it weird in a way that...
It would be fucking hilarious. I'd love it.
I think it would just make it a bit farcical, and I just worry that... like,
fucking midnight.
I don't know.
And suddenly, ninjas.
That's my point. Like, at least, and as much as we fucking rip on season 2, and rightly so, at least they'd kind of set up the ninja thing in season 1 a little bit so that you were prepped.
Yeah.
If they just dropped in a fucking squad of ninjas into Born Again season 2, I'd be like, this doesn't fit. Like, you may as well throw in the fucking Ninja Turtles if you're going this far. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hilarious.
So I just worry. If they do end up throwing ninjas in, I'm just concerned.
Okay, fair. Well, I just want, Moon Knight, or I actually said to Eamon earlier, in the comics, Daredevil and Black Widow have a bit of a thing. We obviously know that Natasha's kicked it. However, Yelena is kicking about in Thunderbolts. Give me Florence Pugh and Charlie Cox in the same scene together. Because also, there's a compromise, mate. If we don't get Jessica Jones ripping the shit out of him for his wanky outfit, we definitely would get the same for fucking Yelena.
We absolutely need Yelena criticising the horns. You know, she already took shots at her own sister for doing the superhero landing and then was like, I did it myself. Like, come on, we need a little bit of that aimed at Daredevil. That'd be amazing.
It'd be fucking great. But yeah, so that's pretty much all my expectations for that. Shall we get into the lovely comments that people... I say lovely. The comments we've had from people about the finale.
We certainly will. I put the shout out this morning about, what did people think of the episode and kind of the series as a whole. And we had a few people get in touch, both good and bad, which is absolutely fair. Like, it's it has been a mixed bag.
It's the internet.
It's the internet. It's been a mixed bag, and we've acknowledged as much on this series at length. The first comes from Kieran Mitchison _ the head pop in Daredevil reminded me
that bell end.
The head pop in Daredevil reminded me of Brawl in Cell Block 99 when Vince's head got shot. I think it's because they both seem to be practical effects to some degree. Which I was like, yeah, fair. Practical effects to me. Golden. Love it. I'm here for it. Then we had Machinator 1-20. Like most of the season, I found it incredibly inconsistent, with some moments being cool and others feeling incredibly sloppy. It had really awkward cinematography and editing, in my opinion, and while there was fun in the first half, the second half just became a slow setup for next season. Which, to be fair, it's a good point. That sort of last 15 minutes especially was very much like and city state, police state.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't on last week, but I did put the note in about, I felt it was very weird near the tail end about, it'd been 3 or 4 episodes since Matt had even dealt with Foggy, like, he had this eureka moment. I'm like, where the fuck has this come from? And it was like, from then on, it's like, right, let's get the ball rolling. Like, we need to get people going, we need to get people in certain places so we can round this all up and tie it in a bow. And it's like, yeah, I can kind of see where that's going from at that point.
But I believe you also have some comments.
I do. I got a message in from Millennium Milestone who said, similar, so I'm not too happy about it. This was a letdown mid-storytelling. The finale was more like a mid-season cliffhanger that should have been resolved to some extent. The actors are great in their roles, but the script was very mediocre. They can only carry the series so much if the story is boring as rocks. No one uses that enough. Thank you for that, Millennium Milestone. I'm going to use boring as rocks more often. We also got a very opposed view. Sweet and simple. Jacob T. Amazing from start to finish. Well, that's nice. It's good, isn't it?
Enjoyed it.
Love it. Love it. But then, I mean, obviously that's about the podcast. But what do you think about the show? But yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's been a mad thing going round, hasn't it? It's like, it's been a roller coaster of a show, we shall say.
It has. I think, mixed bag to me is just sort of the best description, because like there have been some insane moments throughout the entire season. There have also been some really bad moments. Muse. Overall, I've been pretty happy with the season. Like, I've not finished it and gone, oh, fuck. Like, I feel like I've been hyped and excited and wasted my time. I don't feel like that's the case whatsoever. If anything, it makes me more excited about, Daredevil. These characters, for me, as in Daredevil and Fisk, are as good as they've ever been, if not more interesting. Some of the action is great. Billy Clubs, man. Finally seeing the Billy Clubs and the swinging, it's just awesome.
How many Billy Clubs out of 5?
I was about to segue into that.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's fine, but we can get to that. For me, I'm going 4 Billy Clubs. Maybe it's an overall sense so far, but like I came out of that being like, that was a solid episode for me. Some really good action, although like it wasn't perfect. Really interesting character moments. It gets me excited for the future. I came out of it pretty happy, mate. So 4 Billy Clubs.
Yeah, I would say the same. I would say, like, I think there's, as much as I fucking bitch and moan about the little inconsistencies, Helen, you flannel, but like
Helen? Who's Helen?
I've even forgotten her name. I forgot her name, mate. That's how fucking much of a flannel she is. No, like, yeah, I think there's too much good that outweighs the bad, and for that I'd give it the same. I'd say, yeah. So that, I mean, that's it. That's it. That is it. We're done.
But we're not done with this podcast. So far, what we've got planned is an overall episode. We're going to dissect the whole season, just sort of a little bit broadly, and we'll rate the entire season out of Billy Clubs. That'll be an interesting one. And obviously, we have been threatening the entire time we've been recording this podcast that we are going to watch the Ben Affleck Daredevil, and me and Nick are going to get shit-faced because, quite frankly, we're going to need it. Josie, get the bottle of O'Melvides, because I was going to say we're celebrating. I don't know if that's the right terminology for that film at all. But yeah, so do not worry. This is not the end. We're not saying goodbye just yet. But obviously, at some point soon, we will be taking a hiatus until season 2. But until then, do you have any more thoughts, dear Nicholas?
My thoughts are, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone who's written in the stuff. It's just been nice to do this. I'd like to thank my mum and my dad. I'd like to thank Bullseye for taking a hop off a roof, and Frank for not packing it in, the silly bastard. But yeah, it's just been nice, man. I've enjoyed this, and I can't wait. Like, we have said that season 2 is coming back next year. And I think it's the added bonus that we will be back to do this and pick it apart for when ninjas turn up.
Don't fucking Don't fucking...
The fucking ninjas.
Fucking ninjas, man. I don't fucking want ninjas. If you've enjoyed this podcast, give it a rate on your podcast provider of choice. That would be really nice, you know, so that when we do come back properly for season 2 and our few little bits sprinkling here and there, you know, we can get more of you involved. That'd be nice. Follow us on all social media platforms at Daredevcast. Follow me at Eammon Jacobs. You can follow Nick at the beer he's drinking.
Why? Why the beer I'm drinking? I don't get it.
Because typically when I say you can follow Nick at, and then you say your name, but you were drinking.
Sorry, yeah.
Jesus Christ, that bit went fucking.
I'm not gonna lie, Eammon. I'm on 2 bottles and a can of beer in Moretti. I don't know what's happened. I'm trying to fucking piss it out. Give me shit. Yeah, follow me Nick Stanleyforth. I'm around. I'm about.
You're around like a bad smell.
Oh, don't like that. Don't like that. I'm the Heather of the podcast. I thought Tom was the Heather of the podcast.
Yeah, fair enough. Tom is the Heather of the podcast. Sorry, Tom. We'll love you and leave you. Thanks for listening. See you in a bit.
I'm Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now.